Welcome to episode 118 of the Midwest Angler Podcast. Scott Sturman, Matt Deitch. What's happening?
Nottin'. Another day in paradise.
That's right. Well, some people had a little bit more of a day in paradise than others.
Yeah. Some people had to work while some people didn't have to.
Yeah, something like that. You know, I was the worker and you were the one that was not working.
Yeah.
I've got a boat and pickup parked out in front of my house right now. Matt, don't totally spill the beans, but tell me, what did you do today?
I went and did a little fishing, got the boat out for the first time this year.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to go on Friday, but it was blowing pretty heavy out there on Friday, so I decided not to. And then the weekend happened and had other plans and Easter, everything like that. And obviously it was gorgeous 2 days there and not much for strong winds. Probably been perfect to been out on the water, but, you know, family stuff comes first.
Yep.
So then today I was able to get out there, but it was pretty windy out there again today, though.
Yeah, you know, I think that there's a lot of times, you know, when you're sitting in town, you know, or just someplace a little bit out of the wind, and it's like, oh man, today would be a real nice day to be out on the water. Well, you get out on the water, and you know, I guess it's one thing if you're going to go and beat a bank or something like that, and you know, sit right along, you know, a bunch of trees. But if you get out, you know, onto the lake very far, it don't take a whole lot of wind to make it pretty miserable pretty fast.
Right, especially around here where everything is pretty wide open and there's not a lot of shelter away from that wind. And I was on Big Spirit Lake, and yeah, it was rolling pretty good.
Yep, big spirit means big wind.
Yeah,
if it's there.
But no, it was nice to be able to get out.
Yep. Yeah, we'll talk about that here a little bit later.
How was your Easter?
My Easter, you know, it was pretty solid. I'll be honest, we did not do a whole lot. Honestly, we just went over to my parents' place and we grilled a couple steaks and had some potatoes, some asparagus. It's getting to be asparagus.
It is.
We are closing in on asparagus season.
And man, it gets cutthroat around here.
You ain't a kidding.
I don't know what it is like for some people, like what our listeners, what all the dirt bags areas are like, but it can kind of get a little like territorial around here for that asparagus.
That is no joke whatsoever. I personally know my wife's uncle's a farmer. And he will like flat out chase you out of his ditch if he's, and I mean it's public property,
right?
But I mean they don't feel that way.
I don't think a lot of people realize that they're driving by asparagus a lot of the times in the ditch. I don't think that they realize what it is. They just see that big brush, kind of bushy thing down in the ditch, and they think, oh, that's just some type of a weed, but don't really realize that it's asparagus.
Yep, I got a buddy who's from Sioux Falls, and he's an electrician. He was down in our town doing a project, and the one day I'm cruising along, and I just happened, you know, there's a vehicle parked on the side of the road, and you see somebody out there, and, you know, you don't think a whole lot, you know, maybe, you know, something blew out of the back of their vehicle, whatever, and as I go by, all of a sudden, I'm like, holy moly, that was Willie. Like, so I call him, and I'm like, hey, man, you all right? Or, you know, you got a flat tire? Or, you know, what's going on? Well, I saw this patch of asparagus. And he's been coming back and forth for, like, you know, 2-3 weeks or whatever, back and forth to Rock Rapids. And he's just been picking this, like, every few days, every day. He swings in there and grabs a bit more. And, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely cutthroat.
Yeah, don't go out there and pick any little old lady's asparagus patch. They'll get after you.
You roll up on my grandma's place, and I dare you to try. I dare you to try. That
it gets wild.
Freaking meaner than Satan himself. Holy moly!
But no, it is asparagus season. It is kind of ditch gold around here.
Ditch gold. Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else besides asparagus that gets kind of that way. I can't think of anything around here that, you know, we don't get a lot of the morel mushrooms a lot.
No.
Every once in a while we might stumble across some, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a little farther south into some of those hills, and I think it
right.
You know, kind of be along the same deal. I found a bunch of morels, a couple, is it morel or morel?
I don't know. I think it's morel. I don't know.
We're just going to call them mushrooms.
Yeah.
But the type of mushrooms that you can eat that are highly sought after, I found, you remember a couple years ago when I found some right in a public area, right where me and Matt fish all the time.
It was busier than all get out.
Honestly,
people were walking by him.
Right. I was sitting down there fishing, and I don't remember if I was heading back to my truck or what. And all of a sudden I look, and it's like, holy moly. And I'd never really found any of them before. And it was like, wow, dang it. There's one, and there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. And holy smokes, I mean, next thing you know, and so the only thing that I knew to do would be to call Tanner, my buddy Tanner, because he eats all that goofball stuff. And so he came down with some bags, and I mean, we filled up a plastic bag, like
we
filled
did
her
find
up.
a lot.
And you like that mushroom stuff, don't you?
Oh yeah, I like mushrooms.
I see this GIF or meme or whatever, a Facebook picture that's going around, and it says something like, "Who's the person that sees a mushroom and thinks, oh yeah, I'd like to add that to my meal?" Like, I'm not. My dad won't eat them. Period.
Oh really?
Like, flat out, if he even knows that it is in something. Like,
my brother Mike is the same way.
Yeah, he says, there is no reason to be eating fungus. Like fungus grows on your feet.
Right.
Fungus grows on like rotting dead stuff.
Well, that's like some of those, all the other versions that are out there, all the different mushrooms that people are always going out and getting, and it's just like some of that stuff. I mean, the morel mushrooms, they look like they're like, okay, that doesn't look too bad. But some of those that are growing on sides of the trees and stuff like that, I don't know. I
would say the morels almost look worse.
Really? What do you think they look like?
I don't know. Like that's
like a nutsack.
That's
or
like
something?
alien. Yeah. Well, that's like alien stuff, though.
It is a little
like
weird.
I mean, that stuff it'll grow 4 inches in a matter of like 2 hours, and then all of a sudden just keel over and die. Like, it just randomly grows in goofy spots. Like, the word spore bothers me. It bothers me. Like, it makes me think, like, it makes me get itchy.
So no mushrooms for
you? Well, like I said, if I'm over at somebody's place and they already got it in the meal, like, I mean, I like eating more than I hate mushrooms. Let's put it that way. So
you ain't gonna kick a piece of pizza out of bed,
right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it's already on there, hey, fair enough. I'll eat that. I'm not going to personally put it on there, but yeah.
Yeah,
that kind of went off.
It's all right.
Yeah, it is all right, but
it's that time of year around here. It's asparagus, mushrooms,
shed hunting.
Hey, shed hunting.
You're normally the shed hunter.
I didn't get out at all this year.
Yeah. Well, I think I think everything just kind of all of a sudden it's winter and boom. I mean, where the hell did spring go?
Right.
We went right into summer. It was 80 freaking some degrees. I literally was down in Tampa, Florida last week. And it was basically just as warm here as what it was down in Tampa, Florida.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. That is what it is. But, we were kind of talking there, Matt, about spots. People's asparagus spots, people's mushroom spots. How about some lake spots? So this kind of came to me the other day. I saw a guy on Facebook write something to the tune of out on such and such a lake today, and I just can't believe how many people are out there. This is getting about freaking ridiculous. And you read it and it's like, yeah, I kind of get what he's saying, whatever. But then you kind of stop and you think, like, what makes that guy think that he has any more of a right than anybody else? And so I'll put this out there. We've talked about, people from South Dakota that don't really like it. The out-of-staters coming over and fishing their bodies of water while our seasons are closed. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, let's not let any, out-of-staters come, because I mean, tourism and whatever, that's what drives, stocking. That's what drives these small towns, whatever. But I mean, I do get where the people from South Dakota would, they do have somewhat of a gripe. I can see where they're coming from.
It's a lot busier than what it normally would.
But if I pull up to a boat ramp in, say Okoboji, and there's 100 pickups there, and 95 of them are Iowa license plates, I just don't get how some people feel like they have more of a right to fish a body of water than anybody else. So I've got a friend who's he's big into hiking and mountain stuff, whatever, lives out in Wyoming, and he is big time in making sure that the mountain and everything stays as natural as possible. Cool. Whatever. So then I saw him write a while back that he wanted to limit the amount of people that got to go into this national park every year. He wanted to limit it. Okay, I guess, yeah, okay. Whatever. So I think everybody thinks that, oh man, so many people is such a problem. But no, not me. If we're going to eliminate people, not me, because, I deserve to be here because I take care of it. I don't litter. Well, you know what? 95% of us don't litter.
Exactly.
Right? 95% of us take care of the resource. 95% of us aren't catching our limit every single day. 95% of us, are good stewards of the land. Right?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. As soon as you start limiting the amount of people just for the fact of, like, you think that it's too busy, it starts to kind of take away from it being public.
Right.
Pretty soon, now it's not public because it's, it's owned by the public, but it's kind of ran almost like it's private, so,
And too many on whose opinion.
Right, exactly. And I look at it almost as kind of like, you could kind of like deer hunting. A couple years ago in South Dakota, they were starting to complain that, people could just come in and deer hunt. Like there were so many people deer hunting. Then all of a sudden they came in and started doing draw.
Yep.
Doing tags. And other states are like that too. And then pretty soon the people that were complaining that there was like all these people are hunting over here aren't getting drawn for tags. Now they complain about it. Like now that they don't get to be the ones that go out and do it. And that's a lot of states, I guess. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm comparing it to.
Right. I don't know if you saw here a while back, but Meat Eater podcast did a deal, and I don't know which guy it was in the Meat Eater crew, and I don't even know if it was part of the podcast. Meat Eater has grown to be such a, they own a camo company, they own, TV shows, a podcast, whatever, tons of stuff. But they had talked about how, hunter recruitment, and, about how hunter recruitment was getting to be an issue because there was so many people out hunting that, and this particular guy said that he was not happy because he was going out to some of his public land, and nowadays it was getting to be an issue where it used to be he could go out and not see anybody for 3 days straight, and now he can't go 3 hours without seeing somebody. And, he was kind of bashing, hunter recruitment, that we've overdone it now. And, the same people kind of turned around and said, hey, listen, that's not the issue. The land is the issue. Right. We want everybody hunting. We want more land, public land. We could even go as far as somehow leasing ground from, ranchers, landowners, all the way across the board, farmers, for walk-on stuff. But, it kind of comes down to that same deal again. Like, these people think that they have more of a right to the land than anybody else. I think it's pretty easy to think, well, I'm always doing the right thing. And, I was here long ago. I've been hunting this ground for 40 years. I have the right to this ground. These guys are just showing up this year. Yeah, well, their tax dollars have been paying for it all those years.
We're all equals. It doesn't matter how long you've hunted something, how long you fished it. It's open to the public, so it's fair game for anybody. You're talking about that with lakes, and yeah, guys get into a ramp and it's super busy. Is it inconvenient? Yeah, but that's just the way it is. I mean, there might be a different lake then that you can go try if you think this one is too busy.
Right.
But I mean, if you're catching fish there, you're going to keep going out there. You're going to catch them.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing that we all got to kind of sit and realize is, you know, I've got some cousins that go and sit on Miller's Bay in Okoboji every single weekend, all summer long. More boats, the merrier to them.
Right.
I mean, they want, if it was up to them, everybody across the whole entire Lake Okoboji would be tied up to each other. Yeah. You wouldn't even be able to frickin' go at an idle across the lake, and you could just hop from boat to boat to boat, cracking bush lattes and, you know, just freaking smashing beers and blasting smokes. And, you know, that's their way of doing it. Is it our cup of tea? No. But
they have every right to do it.
Right? You know, I mean, it's, you know, just because we're not into it doesn't mean that.
Well, it's just, you know, you talked about public land too. Yeah, most people use it for hunting reasons, but there's a lot of times where people go out for walks out on public land.
Yep.
Out there doing, I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff out there on public land before.
Oh, dude, I've had horses come ride right up on me while turkey hunting. And
so, I mean, it's still public land. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, unless they're doing something illegally, obviously. But if they're doing everything legally under the rules and regulations, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, well, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been in that situation where I've been pissed. You know, I've been out hunting and somebody comes walking up.
Right.
And it's like, hey, you dumb son of a, you know, what the are you doing? And then you find out that they've got a hunting license and they've got a habitat stamp, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Right. You know, besides maybe go up and try, you know, maybe try to educate them, you know, hey, you're not going to shoot a deer if you're just walking around with your bow, you know, through the woods. They see you coming a long time before you ever see them.
An hour before sunset. Yeah. It's like, now it's not the time to be up moving around there, bud.
Yep. But I mean,
but who knows? All of a sudden, then you get to the truck and he's dragging out a big buck.
It happens. Right. I mean, sometimes I think you overthink it, and yeah, I know this is the Midwest Angler Podcast, but there's just a little hunting. You gonna do any turkey hunting this year, Matt?
I don't know. I didn't do much last year, so
I don't think I went once.
I always have intentions to do it. Then it's just like, maybe I won't. Then I'll buy a tag and then go hard for like a couple weeks or a couple days, maybe a week. And then it's just kind of like, okay.
Do you find yourself like me, getting burned out with stuff? Like, I will get a bow tag for turkey hunting here in Iowa. In our season, if you're a bow hunter, you can get a bow tag that lasts the whole entire season.
Right.
You know, gun, you have to be specific, but the archery season lasts the whole entire month. And, you know, deer hunting, the archery season lasts from October 1st until January 15. You know, you can go, well, I guess there's a couple breaks in there for slug season, but, you know, and fishing, you know, I don't know, once walleye opens, or, you know, even going after bass or going after bluegills. I'm this type of guy that kind of obsesses over stuff. Like, I've been guilty of opening day of turkey hunting, starting to go 10 days straight and then don't frickin' go again because I've overdone it, and I'm just not even interested. You know, I've done it with deer hunting where, you know, October 10th, you start going and you go for 2 weeks straight and you don't get anything. You burn yourself out, and then the rut comes around, you know, but I've done it with fishing too.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, you kind of almost put yourself into a slump because, you know, you obsess over it. And I don't know, you know, I don't want to sit here and tell anybody to, you know, hey, don't go as much as what you feel like.
But if you ever start feeling like it's kind of starting to getting to be a drag, then take a little bit of time off of it a little bit and then go again.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself a little bit.
I don't know if I get that feeling as much with fishing.
Me either, but especially if you don't have as many successful trips.
Right.
Obviously turkey hunting or hunting in general, you could go out and, man, you go hard for a couple days and you don't see any or don't hear
Yep.
any. Fishing, it just seems like there at least you can move around a little bit.
Switch species.
Right. It's just like, well, okay, let's try to target this then today.
At the end of the day, you can always try going for panfish.
Right.
And, then you catch them.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's, I don't know. It'd be pretty tough to go to a lake that has a decent bluegill population.
I think it's different, like, as far as fishing goes, is if you live right there, it's a little easier just to go, and then if you're not doing real well, just to get off the water and, go home. Whereas if, like, for our situation, you got to drive
1,000 miles from nowhere.
Right. You drive an hour to go fishing. It's just like, well, we're going to try to make it. But then the next time it comes around, it makes your decision a little bit more like, no, maybe not today. Maybe I'm just not feeling it today, so I don't go. And then you're sitting there like, man, I should have went.
Right.
And you can't anymore. Whereas if you lived in the town where the lake is, I mean, you can be like, man, I'm going to go out. And then you don't feel like, or if you're just like, man, I really don't feel like it today, then all of a sudden you're just like, you know what, I do want to go fishing.
Yep.
I mean, you can be at the lake in 10 minutes and go.
Do you feel like, so the other day I saw a guy talk about, some walleyes, and this is a guy that has, is always cracking them right here in the tri-state area. And he talked about how he thought some of these walleyes were getting to the point of already being spawned out.
Really?
Do you believe that?
I guess some of them could be. The big females might be.
Okay, so that's what he said. He said he thinks that they are spawning, getting close to being spawned out, some of them. And I don't know, like every single year I'm like, man, next year, the second the ice goes out, I'm getting that boat out and I'm going out there to try catching, pre-spawn walleyes or, doing all this stuff. And I never do it.
Right.
I never freaking do it. I always have, this year I'm going to do more fall fishing. Never do it. What the frick's wrong with me?
I think a lot of people get that way, though. It's like when you don't have something that you really want, and then when all of a sudden it's just like you do, finally it gets here, you get busy. Yeah, there's times like it's got to line up with your schedule and stuff. I mean, some of the best early season like walleye fishing is night fishing.
Right. Well,
is going out, after dark with the waders or on the shoreline and pitching jigs and doing all that stuff. Well, I mean, you got a young family, busy, you got work. I mean, and again, you got to drive.
Is the other thing that everybody thinks it's going to be 70 degrees and nice?
I think so. I think that could be it. It's just like when you think of open water fishing, you think in shorts and a t-shirt and just hanging out. Then all of a sudden it's just like,
rain suit.
It's like 50
base layers,
right.
And I think those dudes that are out there that are really targeting big fish, early in the year, look at them, man. They're bundled up in their ice fishing gear yet.
Right.
I mean, they've got gloves on. They're not in flip-flops. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody even just thinks, well, 55 degrees and sunny, just not windy. Well, this is the time of the year where, it kind of rains and it kind of, it blows and it gets cold fast in the evening.
Right. As soon as that sun starts going down, it drops, it can drop 20 degrees just like that.
Yep.
So that probably has a lot to do with it.
I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong on that, but I don't know. I know I drop the ball every single year over and over. And yeah, is what it is, I guess. We talked there about temperatures, Matt. Some of the temperatures for spawning fish is something that I feel like probably a lot of the guys pay attention to, but maybe some people just don't even really realize it. What was the temperatures you saw today while out on
the highest I saw today was 46. The lowest I saw was 42.
Okay, and obviously you were going after the smallmouth bass. Yep. The walleyes is closed on the Iowa Great Lakes, but the smallmouth bass, from what I can tell, a spawning temperature of 59 to 60 degrees.
Yep.
And that's kind of when they're gonna hit the spawn. So I mean, those fish today that you caught, I mean, those were thick fish. Like,
Yeah, they're very thick.
Walleyes down. I know that they always talk about the magic 42 number,
Yep.
but on this chart that I found, it's 45 to 50. I wonder, I mean, would that be 42 degrees is more of a surface temp that you're getting on the boat, and you probably get 8 degrees or 8 feet down, and maybe you're going to go up
Right.
a couple degrees. I don't know. Is that right?
But yeah, no, I agree with you there.
I mean,
I still
42 is the number you always hear, right?
Right. I still think that 42 to 45 is when, like, those big females first will drop their eggs.
Are you thinking that this chart that I found is kind of like we're going to pull a fast one on them? These guys are going to be late?
They're all in the general area. I mean, I think most people know that, as far as walleyes go, in that lower 40 degrees is when it's going to start. I mean, the males, you start catching males that are milking, so that means that the females are obviously probably
Right.
dropping their eggs. So
Do you think?
and they're they always have these ranges. Some just are early spawners and some are hold on to them
Right.
for a while and spawn late.
Do you think that there's spots on lakes that, like way up on the north end, these fish are spawning way before the fish like on the south end, depending on how deep some water is in between there?
That could have something to do with it, and just the water temp from one end of the lake to the other end. Of the
Right,
lake too,
right. That's
could
what
definitely-
Yeah, I mean, obviously, think about a fishery like Spirit Lake. You get up into the northeast corner of Spirit Lake, and there's a lot more shallower water.
Right.
Where you kind of go more towards the middle, and on some of these big points you can go from 17 feet to 8 feet pretty fast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
I just think that as far as like that with the spawning, you got the early ones with like the northerns that do it as soon as the ice comes out.
Yep.
Sometimes they're spawning like when
With
there's
ice,
still
yep.
ice on the water. And then, the walleye, and then after the walleye, everything kind of waits a little bit after that until it gets up into that mid-50s to lower 60s before things really start, spawning.
Right.
So that's one nice thing about it is, that pre-spawn range or that temperature stuff, that's when the fish are kind of putting on the feed bag a little bit. And then, after the spawn, it takes a little bit. There's kind of a little bit of a lull where they're not real active. They're recovering from the spawn.
I think that's when I normally start getting the water.
and then they go full feed bag and start eating again. But I think it's just crazy, when you talk about spawning, how much a fish changes from before the spawn to after the spawn.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, how much a fish, just before the spawn to after the spawn, but how much that same fish can change, when you get to July.
Right.
We caught some fish last year out on Spirit Lake, me, Grady, my brother, and Aubrey. We were out there, I think it was July or August. Nah, it wasn't August, but sometime in July. Maybe it was even 4th of July weekend, and it was just hotter than blazes out there. And we were actually worried about even catching these fish because we knew that even the water temp was getting up there, and it,
Right.
Maybe wasn't the best idea to be jerking fish around or whatever. But we were as careful as what we could be. Blah blah blah. And we caught a couple. I caught one fish that was probably, I don't know, in the low 20s as far as inch wise, and I mean, this thing was skinny as a rail.
Yeah.
Like looked like a damn broomstick. And, that same fish, well, I mean, assuming that it was probably a female, maybe it wasn't, but, I mean, that thing could have been a freaking balloon back in this time of year.
Exactly. Or in the fall.
Yeah.
It is. It's just nuts how much they change.
That goes back to my deal that says that's why state record fish should go off inches. It should.
No, because there's a lot of 30-inch walleyes. There's not a lot of 12-pound 30-inch walleyes.
Yeah, you're right, because you can only get them for just a couple months.
Right. That's why you got to go out there at the right time of year to get them. Can't just catch them all year long.
I would argue this until I was green in the face. It should go off inches.
Nope. A 12-inch bluegill, that's long, but you know it's going to weigh a lot. Whereas, you know, we might both catch an 11-inch bluegill, but yours might weigh a half a pound more than mine. And I'm not going to sit there and say, but they're the same length. They're the same size fish. You're just going to say, mine weighed more. Even if yours was 10 inches and was a pound bigger than mine, you'd still brag that it weighed more than...
So if you caught a 27-inch walleye that weighed 10 pounds, that would hold a better spot in your heart than a 32-inch walleye that weighed
10 pounds.
8.5?
Yeah. I'm going for the weight. Going for weight. Ding, ding.
No. Nope.
Just think what a 10-pound, 27-inch walleye would look like. How freakishly...
I get that. But, I mean...
I'm still going to go by weight.
I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided yet.
I'm still trying to convince you.
Well,
you know, you think about
part of me takes my stance just because you have the other stance.
Well, I know, and you got to do that. You know, we're talking about water temperature, and I was just thinking about that. You know, like how lethargic some of these fish are.
We're not talking water temperature. We're talking length of fish.
Oh, we are
Okay, now we're going back to water temperature. We're going back
because I got something in my head, and you know, you start thinking about
not a brain.
No, there's not much up there.
Not hair.
No, that's all gone.
No hair, no brain. Okay, I'm going to let you talk now.
Man. Anyways, no, it kind of relates to like with us as humans, you know, with water temperatures and stuff like that. Fish get more active, you know, when the water starts warming up. People start getting more active as the temperatures outside get up. You know, you start seeing people outside and doing a lot more stuff. And then as it gets really hot, you don't see as many people outside. So then it's just like with fishing, it kind of dies down when it gets really, really hot. So, and then again in the fall, you know, it starts getting close to winter time. So we're all outside again. We're getting active. We're trying to get all our yard work done and everything. And fish, they're trying to feed up for that fall, for that winter time so they can hunker down under the ice. So.
And in the winter, we're outside, but we're not moving super fast. We're just kind of lollygagging around, unless, of course, we don't have a coat and we're running in. But where'd you come up with that comparison?
I was thinking about it today out on the lake because I was just like, as you're kind of working your lure and all that stuff, and you're just like, you know, 42 degrees when I first started fishing, and then as the water got up and I got into that active school of fish, it was boom. I mean, they were starting to, you know, get after it a little bit. And I was like, you know, I suppose it warms up 5 degrees and it can make a world of difference. And all of a sudden they start getting a little bit more active. So.
There you go, people. I mean, he is ugly, but every once in a while he is smart.
Close my eyes and throw the dart at the dartboard and I actually hit it.
Hey, it hit. Matt, I think we're at a point in the show where we can talk a little bit about your fishing trip today. Tell us what you were using, where you were at. I know you kind of already mentioned that, but you were using a technique that is probably not. I don't know. Maybe it's more popular than what I think, but I mean, it's definitely not the most popular technique, and it's something a smidge different.
Right. I was using what I finally started catching them on was a blade bait. And a blade bait is exactly as the name says. It looks like a little blade. It's weighted, usually towards the front end of it, so it kind of dives nose down. And when you just kind of rip it, is what you do. I was letting it fall, and I'd rip it up off the bottom, and let it fall to the bottom, and let it rip it, and then ripping it off. And then sometimes it's a real good cold water bait, because it's got a real tight vibration and tight shimmy, and then on a sunny day, because smallmouth loves the sun, you know, it sends off some flash. And you almost work it like a jig at times. There's different ways you can work it, but today I was kind of working it like a jig, like just picking it up and letting it fall. And then you'd feel them every once in a while. You know, sometimes they'd come and hit it when it was on the bottom, and then other times as it was falling, you could feel that tick, just like you would with a jig bite, and then you'd set the hook. So that's what I was using.
We're gonna get into this. I'm gonna really pick your brain on this. What action rod are you running that on?
A medium
action
spinning rod. Yep.
Spinning rod.
Yep.
And then what are you using for line on that?
I had super line on there. I braided line with a fluorocarbon leader.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'd run on all my
12 pound.
Yeah, 12 pound, I think 10 or 12 pound braided line to a 8 pound leader.
Okay. So then you're bomb casting that out?
Yeah.
Bomb casting
or just
out.
a round structure. I mean, if you find where the school is and stuff like that, you just kind of pinpoint cast it. That's one nice thing about it when it's windy out like this. I mean, I think the one I had on might have been like 3/8 or a half ounce. So
okay,
I mean,
a little bit heavier.
Heavier. So then you can really get a good cast on that.
Yep, flinging her out there a ways, and then letting her drop all the way before you're closing your bail.
Yep.
And kind of putting a little tension on there, and then just a good solid rip with the tip of your rod.
You'll feel it vibrate as it comes up, and then it will fall. And then
you feel it vibrate.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because it's got a tight little vibration to it. So.
And so you just kind of give her a good solid rip, and sometimes there's fish there, sometimes there's not, and
sometimes sometimes when you go to rip it, all of a sudden it's just boom, something's there, and then every once in a while you'll if there's some weeds, if you're near weeds, you'll rip it out of the weeds, and sometimes that'll trigger a bite.
Yep.
Right now over at Spirit Lake, there's kind of some slimy stuff on the bottom, so sometimes it's harder to fish those. You got to find a hard bottom to fish them on. So if you can find sand, gravel, stuff like that, that's usually when you have your most success with it.
What brand are you actually using on that?
I was using a Johnson.
A Johnson.
Yeah. I can't remember what they're called. Johnson blade bait.
Matt just can't help but having a Johnson in his hand.
Had a big Johnson out there, so
that's a little Johnson
vibrating it.
But I do see that Acme V Rod is one of them.
There's a lot of them. They've been around for a long time.
That's crazy. Before this, and you guys, this is what I truly believe makes this show great. Is I'll sit here and absolutely ramble about pure bullcrap the whole entire time, not really know much of what I'm talking about. Where then all of a sudden Matt is over here. And, I do more talking, but Matt actually probably knows what's going on most of the time. I'm not going to lie to you. There's probably some times where if we're talking to a guest, they could absolutely fill my head with BS. And I'd just be like, oh, no kidding. All right. Yeah. Where Matt, you might kind of listen to it and be like, it didn't exactly sound quite right. But
it was a Johnson Thin Fisher is what I was
Johnson Thin Fisher.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Rapala Rap V blade bait?
I've seen those. There's
that is scary as shit.
I know. There's some scary looking ones.
If I'm a smallmouth or a walleye, and that's one thing that we need to touch on here. Right now Matt is particularly targeting smallmouth because, like we said, walleye season is closed, and it is what it is right now. But this is a pretty solid technique a little bit later on for walleye too.
Right. Yeah. Anytime when the water temperature is down there, bladed bait. I mean, ripping one of those along. There's some guys out in the Great Lakes that do something that they call flopping it. They kind of take that or a rattle trap and they just sit there and kind of shake their rod with it, and it just kind of flips back and forth over.
Kind of mimicking a dying minnow down on the bottom and a little bit of sound.
Come up and hit it. So,
all right. So I'm looking here on my phone, going through. We got a Mega Bass Dyna Response, Captain J's blade baits, Jackall Keyburn blade bait. What do you think takes the cake as the best named bait?
Best named bait?
Yep.
All around?
Just the best name.
The best name. I don't know. Some of those, Fritz side. I don't know. I mean, when your name's David Fritz, I don't know. It just sounds good.
But there's like Little Johns.
Yeah. I think that Snake Proof has like the Fat Frog or something like that, but it's a PHAT frog.
13 Plastics. They get some
They
pretty
got
good
some
names.
crazy stuff
Yeah,
sometimes.
they I don't know. I think
BAMF, I like that.
badass mother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of
donkey sauce with their
donkey sauce. Like sometimes I wonder if they're on drugs when they're coming up with this stuff.
Well, there's some companies like out in California. There's a lot of them that have like marijuana smoking reference names.
That's
like California 420 is like a
really?
color. Mary Jane. So I don't know. There's, I guess whatever you want to. Reaction Innovations has some good ones too, like the beaver base. The sweet beaver, the spicy beaver, the pole dancer. They got them. I mean,
I need a job where I just strictly come up with cool names. I mean, don't expect much out of me. It's going to take me about 4 weeks to come up with one name. But I'm not going to lie to you. You know who I really do think has some good names?
Who's that?
Your buddies over at the Googan Squad.
They
do. They
just copy everybody else's.
I'm not saying that their baits are great. I'm not whatever.
The Bandito Bug.
Bandito Bug. Lunker Log. Like, that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. They're just
Kraken Craw.
Yeah, they're just doing that just to sell them.
Whatever. I mean, that's what everyone else is doing it for too.
Right.
They got a chatterbait called the Clickbait.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool because they're clickbait guys,
right.
Anyways. All right. Matt didn't think it was nearly as neat as what I did.
No, I get it. Their names, they're cool.
Do you know that they've got live bait now?
Really?
Live bait that comes in a little tub, a little dish, we'll call it, and it doesn't need to be refrigerated, and it's like Belgian worms that are dyed like Googan green.
I wouldn't how do they get these larvae and stuff like that, different colors? What do they do?
I don't know. I think they inject them with radioactive material. I don't know how the hell they do that.
It has to be something like with their bedding or something or whatever they feed them. I don't know.
Like I know like you don't like the Googans and I'm I think that a lot of times they're kind of crybabies and whatnot, but holy moly, are those dudes like freaking like they are literally here to take over.
They're trying to.
Well, whatever, but I mean,
they're not going to.
Well, I just so happened I'll watch the YouTube stuff and I could be watching Mindak Outdoors and all of a sudden it'll go into a SoBe episode and then all of a sudden it'll go into a Fishing More episode and then it'll go into an In-Depth Outdoors and it just kind of goes all around. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was John B or maybe it was a Flair episode or maybe it was an AP Bass and I don't even know what it was. But their freaking warehouse that they got down there.
It's crazy.
It's huge.
Right.
Freaking stacked up with freaking boats, pickups, classic cars. Like,
They're
I don't know. For all
life.
They are. But I mean, if they keep investing this and these people keep going bananas, like I'm pretty sure Flair has like 2 million YouTube followers. YouTube. I mean, that's freaking crazy.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Their YouTube success speaks for itself. They got that younger generation going nuts over their stuff. But I think that's a lot of that is like, it's what they're growing up with. Like this new generation of fishermen it's all they see. They watch all their stuff on YouTube. So that's where they're getting like, oh, these dudes are using this. And you go into all the stores and all the stores have it now. So that's what they've done a good job with their marketing and everything like that. And their target audience and stuff like that. They're starting to get some of the professional fishermen. They're sponsoring them, so that's going to help them out a lot too. So I think they kind of got that younger crowd, like that target range. I think they've got that locked down for themselves.
I mean, is it fair to say that this YouTube deal has to dry up at some point? Or is it,
dry up, I think it's going to get watered down. I think that there's going to be so many, like, YouTube, like, fishermen, things like that.
When I think it's already hit that point. Like, I mean, take, for instance, Sobe up there in Minnesota. Like, I personally love his content.
Yeah, he does a good
I
job.
personally love his content. And I think he's sitting at like 50,000 YouTube followers. And to me, that's just freaking crazy. It's like, dude, like, everybody should be watching this. Like, I feel like he brings a good attitude. He's not trespassing on people's property. Like,
some educational type stuff.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like,
see, I think he should be bigger than like what some of them Googan guys are.
And
I think, like you said earlier, with the clickbait, the shock value of it, I think that's where they get a lot of their stuff.
But I mean, even Sobe tries for clickbait stuff. You know, I mean, they do that, and I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder if, and Sobe has been doing it for a while. Murray's been doing it for a while. Have we gotten to a point now where guys coming in with this whole YouTube fishing deal, like, there's not enough room for everybody anymore? I mean, I don't know.
You're going to have to figure out what you can do to separate yourself from everybody else.
Well, right.
Everybody's kind of done the copying thing now. Like, when they all first came in, they were the first ones kind of doing it. Then everybody else kind of modeled themselves after those guys. And I feel like there's a lot of the same stuff out there. So now it's going to take somebody different. Like, what do you bring that's different?
Right.
So,
you're going to have to be a kayak fisherman instead, or something.
You're gonna
like Maverick.
Right.
Mav.
The camping.
Yeah, he got into the truck camping deal, and he literally exploded. He went from like 40,000 YouTube followers to like 200. I think he went from 200,000 to 300,000 in like a month.
Right.
Seriously. Like, I think he's over 300,000.
And yet again, there too, it's such a niche. Like, it takes the right person to sit down there and want to watch somebody sleep.
Right.
It's
right.
like,
You're not wrong.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
I mean, sometimes they do stuff where it's like, okay, this is how the setup is, but sometimes it's just they're sitting there and you're like watching them talk.
Stealth camping in a Walmart parking lot.
Right.
That's what he does.
Right. And it's just like, okay, like, all right, like, what do I all need if I want to do this? Like, what are some like pros, cons? Like, what are some things I need to look for? And
I get into it. Like,
right.
I'm not even a truck camper.
Right.
And you know what? You want to know what's freaking crazy? Like, I used to sit right here in front of this podcast table over on those couches and watch the TV right there. My wife would be upstairs watching the TV. I'd be down here. And once we had this baby, I needed to be upstairs, giving Kayla a hand, doing whatever. And so we started watching all this YouTube stuff up there. Like, Kayla doesn't fish, but I think like now she knows who Sobe is. She knows who Jay Siemens is. She like, even last night we were watching the new Uncut Angling, and she's like, "This dude's crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, you bet your ass he is."
Right.
I don't know. It just I feel like when they are doing this whole vlogging deal, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like even people that maybe aren't that much into fishing, they get captivated by that person. I'm not into truck camping, but for some reason, like, I feel like Maverick should be my friend.
Right. Like you said, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, if somebody's going to do the YouTube stuff, you've got to be that way. You can't be dull in front of the screen,
right?
Because then maybe you're better off being behind the screen. You might be a great videographer, but not real good in front of the screen. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's like, okay, do what you do best. If you're really good at videoing and editing and doing all that stuff, stick to that.
Yep.
Stick to that, and then maybe find somebody that's really good in front of the camera that's not so good with the the editing part of it and stuff like that, and work as a team and like do it. Or if anything, you got to start working on like some of your skills, your in front of camera skills. But I guess sometimes that comes with just being in front of the camera a lot of the times.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of these great YouTubers, I think if you ask Jay Siemens, hey, do you think you're a great fisherman? I think he would probably say, well, I feel like I'm pretty good, but, I feel like Aaron Weems may be a better fisherman. And you know what? He's probably not wrong. But Jay Siemens is a spectacular videographer.
Right.
You gotta be special and kind of come out of your shell. And
it is awkward. I mean, it is awkward to
Oh,
sit there
dude,
and stare
we've
at
tried
a camera,
doing it.
stare at a camera and talk into it, and
it's
try
awkward
to be,
enough having a podcast right here.
right? And try to like be exciting and be like, okay, and
By yourself,
right? That's
by
what
yourself.
I mean.
That's the biggest
and not
thing.
being so awkward and not being embarrassed a little bit too, because you're doing it and there might be people around you, but you got to do this. That's one thing I'll always give credit to those people that are very good vloggers. That they can be out in public and they can do it, and there might be people
around and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, and people might be kind of
that's poking, 2 swear words on this
poking
episode.
fun at them or something like that. So
no, but I mean, I don't personally think that I could do this podcast without you. I think that I need.
That's the nicest thing.
Well, I mean, like,
wow.
With you here, I always know that I won't be the ugliest guy on the show.
You guys didn't see it, but he just did a Jerry Maguire right there to me. He looked at me and did the whole "you complete me."
I did not. I did not do that. I would never do that, even if there was a fire. No,
You have to because you're a volunteer fireman. So you have to rescue me no matter what. You took that oath.
I'm gonna stumble on the way in. Two Picks Hicks is a volunteer firefighter.
Well, that's awesome.
Down in Rudd, Iowa. I don't think that they probably get a ton of calls, but hey, that's good.
That's right.
That's a good thing.
That is exactly right.
But I'm in Rock Rapids, Iowa. We don't get a ton of calls. But no. No, what I was trying to say here before Matt tried to get frickin' goofy with me and wink at me and whatnot is I am not a person that could probably just ramble on by myself all the time. Where, those YouTubers, you don't always get to have another person with you all the time.
No.
And, yeah. So then there's that. Matt, Humminbird Mega Live.
Is it ever going to come out?
Is it ever going to come out? I literally and I don't even think the people that are representing Humminbird even know.
Right.
Because I was watching Brandon Polinick here a while back, and he was talking about, this Mega Live that was going to be coming out here in the next couple weeks. Well, that was 3 or 4 months ago already. So what is,
I don't know what the holdup is.
What's going on?
I don't know what the holdup is.
Is it possible that they had it? They thought, all right, let's get ready to bring it to market here. And they put it in the hands of some of their pros. And some of their pros were like, we're going to need to be a little bit better than this because no one's going to spend this much money. I mean, is that possible?
It could be.
I mean, I applaud them if that is what it is. That, at least they tapped on the brakes hard enough. The software, the equipment is there. They can change up the software, make it more user-friendly. Maybe that's what it was. But, Brandon Polinick, I've got to think, is in the know.
Right. People are chomping at the bit and they want it.
Now's when when people want it, man.
Right. So, they got to get it out here. Otherwise, people are going to start buying live scopes and active targets and stuff like that instead to have that technology.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. It was supposed to be what took the whole entire market by storm, First it was, Lowrance is, oh man, that was, wow, Lowrance, but you just wait until Humminbird comes out.
Well, by the time they get it released and into everybody's hands, there's going to be a new version.
Right.
Because it's electronics, and that's the way it always goes.
How long until how long until Garmin comes? Maybe Garmin's got something in their back pocket that they're just waiting for Humminbird to release, and all of a sudden, boom! Checkmate.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy because, not that I'm going to be buying it. I don't know. I really thought that I was going to be buying a live scope, and yeah, yeah, it just hasn't happened. But I don't know. I'd like to see what Humminbird's going to bring to market here, and maybe going into next year. I would still say right now I would feel most comfortable with buying Garmin.
Right. It seems like that's what everybody's going with.
I don't think the Lowrance sucks.
No.
I think it's Jay Siemens kind of did a head-to-head deal back and forth. And he said, the Lowrance is awesome. You're not at any disadvantage by getting that. But he thought that the Garmin was, maybe just a smidge faster and whatnot. I don't know.
You see a lot of the pros running both on their, running Garmin and, if they're Humminbird guys.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They need to get it out.
Matt, you got a good news story?
My good news story isn't particularly
Hold on. Nope, go ahead. It's championship for NCAA basketball. We'll hit that
Right.
after good news stories.
And we also have a tournament this week
We do.
for fantasy fishing.
Okay, hold on.
Fantasy fishing.
Fantasy fishing first.
Get that in.
Yep.
Sabine River.
Sabine.
There we
Sabine
go.
River.
Sabine
River. I think
Sabine.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think like the Sabine River is maybe like a border water between Texas and Mexico.
I don't know about Texas and Mexico.
Sabine River. Let me look it up.
I do know that the weights usually aren't real high.
Jeez.
But this could be one of them tournaments where a guy.
You are right, Matt. It is not in between. I thought that I had heard that you can only fish on half the river there.
No, not that I know of.
Maybe I'm talking about something else. Yeah,
I'm
whatever.
thinking about Lake Fork, maybe.
Really? You can only... No,
Or
Falcon
Lake.
Falcon.
Lake, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. But Sabine River, hopefully they catch some big ones. I don't
Hopefully.
know. After the last time with that slugfest,
Right.
I still haven't drawn for those T-shirts. And I'm going to.
You're going to get it done.
Yep. So get your lineup set for the Sabine River.
If you're listening to this on Thursday, it's too late.
Yep. Get her done before then. We're sorry that we came out a day late. That was my fault. I kind of dropped the ball, and it was Easter, and
life
happened.
happens.
And
sometimes we have them on Monday
I went on a
mornings and
business trip last week. I went on a business trip to
being this
Tampa.
big wheeler dealer over here.
You better watch out for me, man. I'm just a freaking old businessman.
Yeah, he's very well known in parts
in
of
the
country.
business on Wall Street, you could say. I'm kind of, I'm well known in the fishing world, even better known in the business world.
That's right.
I mean, I've co-authored a lot of business books.
I've seen them, not read them, seen them.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay. Then, March Madness. March Madness, Matt. So it's tonight, which you guys are going to be hearing this tomorrow morning. Right. So we can't change our mind now. Who you got?
Gonzaga.
You got the Zags.
I want to see an undefeated team.
You do.
Yep.
You do. See, I was talking to a guy today, and he said he did not want to see an undefeated.
I'm over that stuff. I want to see it. It's been too long.
76,
I think 76. It was Indiana.
Okay.
It needs to happen.
It does.
It does. Just so other teams can have something to strive for and get after. And sometimes it's all right. There's a lot of in this NCAA tournament that so far. I mean, you've seen it. There's been a lot of parity in it. There's a lot of upsets and stuff like that. Sometimes it's all right for a team to go out there and just win them all.
Who were you going for between UCLA and Gonzaga? You were going for the Zags there too? Yeah. I just didn't know if you changed your mind at this point. Because, I mean, a number 11, has a number 11 ever won it before?
I don't think so. And then,
would have been incredible.
Mark Few, I'm a big Mark Few fan, head coach for Gonzaga. Always.
You know what I heard today?
What?
Heard he's one of the front runners to go down to North Carolina.
Oh, really? Well, he should be. I mean, but I think that he'll stick where he's at because he's had a lot of success there. You think he's going?
I'm just saying. I was listening this morning to Dan Patrick Show because I love it. I'm not telling you guys to listen to a different podcast, but Dan Patrick Show, like, I'm not a sports guy. Like, I'm truly not. But those dudes are freaking hilarious, and that is a well-put-together show. You can tell that they got a little bit more money back in that show than what we do. But I don't know. It's fun. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just a good show if you ever look it up. They got me and Dan Teeslink actually 1 year ago yesterday, we went up to – maybe it was 2 years ago yesterday.
2 years ago it would have been.
We went up to the Dan Patrick meet and greet in Minneapolis. That was pretty cool. And I didn't even know them dudes. Like, I didn't know anyone. It was just me and Dan.
Who do you got?
I am gonna. Well, since you got Gonzaga, I'm going with Baylor.
I just hope it's as good as a game as the UCLA Gonzaga.
It ain't gonna. What did you do? What did you do when that last second buzzer beater went in?
I was sitting upstairs in the kitchen at the table watching the game.
You got up and helicoptered.
The cat was sitting on the table. The dog was downstairs.
You kicked the cat off the table?
I didn't kick her off the table, but I jumped up and I was like, "Oh my God, he made it!" And it's like, holy buckets! And the cat jumped all the way off the table down onto the floor. No, onto the floor and like took off. And the cat gets scared, its tail gets like 5 times bigger than it gets puffy, like huge puffy. It like was like, whoa, what the heck is that? The dog comes sprinting up the stairs. The cat's like, what the hell's going on? Turns and hisses at the dog like, I don't know what the hell's going on, and stuff like that. And
me and Kayla are watching it, and that shot goes in. Our baby is sleeping, and Kayla flies out of the chair, and she's like, oh my God, and I'm like, shut the hell up. Yep. I mean, I wanted to be excited, but I also didn't feel like sitting up for another 3 hours.
Right. So hopefully it's just a good game.
That was cool. Yep, no doubt about it. So Baylor for me, Gonzaga for Matt, for no real reason than just to be against Matt.
Sounds good.
Yep. And then I don't know, what are we going to go to? Then World of Outlaws sprint car racing after this?
Yeah, we will. It is dirt track racing is starting, so.
Hell yeah.
On to that.
That's the next best sport besides fishing.
I'd say so. Football and
football for real, but especially when we got that dirt track racer across the road from me.
Right. There's nothing better than the smell of racing fuel.
Jeremy Clausen, one of the most decorated B-mod racers to ever be in the tri-state area.
You go down to Friday nights here in town and you go down to the racetrack and you get that first whiff of that racing fuel.
Right.
It's just like, oh yeah.
If any of you guys listening to this are actually into dirt track racing and you guys come to Rock Rapids Speedway, look us up. There's a chance we might be there.
No doubt.
And then Matt, he just said to me that he's offering to buy you cheese balls.
Cheese balls.
All right. Good news story. Sorry I interrupted.
No, we had to do that housekeeping.
Yep.
My good news story, I guess, it's not like a good news story, so to say.
It's a bad news story?
Well, my 6th grade teacher passed away this past week.
She liked a lot of our stuff, too.
She liked a lot of our stuff. Miss Blumgren, Jean Blumgren was her name. Unexpectedly, she was 82, I think is what it was. She wrote her own obituary. It's kind of cool.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was kind of different reading it.
That takes some real courage.
Right, from her point of view and stuff like that. But, she, stayed in Ellsworth after she retired many years ago, was a huge supporter of all of the athletics and programs up there. All of us kids, she always kept in contact with you over social media. Like you said, liked a ton of my stuff, a ton of, our stuff from the podcast and everything like that. Love fishing and all that stuff. So I guess today, like, when I was out there fishing a little bit today, I kind of was, dedicating those fish to her.
Yeah.
Because she was always pretty proud of seeing all those online. And every time I would go back home, if I'd run into her, we'd talk fishing and everything like that. So.
And let's be honest, any teacher that had you, that
right.
that didn't say, I'm never talking to that piece of junk again.
Right.
Like, that's pretty notable.
There's still a lot of them that, like, when they hear what I'm doing, they're just like, what? Like, you're talking about a different Matt Deitch, right? He's doing what?
He's a teacher?
Yeah.
That's the blind leading the blind.
So, yeah. How about yours?
I am going to say my good news story is for the people. Holy moly.
Going off the...
What a rookie move. I think in 118 episodes, that's the first time my phone's ever gone off during a podcast. I apologize about that, guys. But anyways, my good news story is going to be going out to the people of the Black Hills of South Dakota. they obviously, everyone has seen that they have been battling some fires out there. And I believe today, the day that this podcast is coming out, Tuesday, the April 6th, I believe that they are going to be getting a winter storm that's supposed to be dumping rain, sleet, snow, and that's not normally a good thing, but they
right
need
now
it.
It is. Yeah,
they need it.
definitely
And
do.
you know, it's pretty crazy when I'll bet you that if you would go out there and ask the people at the Black Hills, hey, is it all right if we dump 6 feet of snow on you right now? They'd probably be like, yes, please.
We need it.
God dang it. Like, I mean, talk about just it's a bad, you know, I mean, well, heck, me and you were just talking. You talked to a guy that was out. He believes that our lakes here in our area are possibly over 2 foot lower than normal.
Right.
I mean, out there, man, you get all that pine beetle stuff, and then you mix that with
moisture.
They need it bad. And so hopefully, this winter storm is all it was cracked up to be, and they get, you know, I don't know, hopefully feet of snow, inches of rain, you know, a bunch of sleet, whatever. And yeah, I'm sure everyone out there would be just A-okay with that. So yeah, that'd be my good news story. I don't know how much of an actual, I don't know if say good news story it actually is, but yeah, that'll be that. Hopefully next week we can say it's a good news story. And
that's right.
So, all right, guys. You know, I want to say that I am apologizing that we haven't had a guest for the last little bit. As I mentioned last week, I was gone for work. The week before that, we lost a babysitter, and yeah, it just yeah, I don't know. Life has been happening, and just hasn't been happening the way we thought it was going to. So yeah, hopefully we come back and have a few guests, and yeah, rock and roll. So. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. Later.